So throughout history, you'll often find great things happening because of the right person just happening to be in the right place at the right time with the right idea. Our next speaker, I mentioned earlier, is the person at that very first meeting who piped up and said, well, what about the term open source? She's the president of the Foresight Institute, which aims to steer the development of nanotechnology in beneficial directions. Please give a warm round of applause for Christine Peterson.
Thanks, Allison. It's fantastic to be here. Tim just told us to take on the big, hard, new problems, so I've come to you to do that. But it's so hard. 10 years ago, looking at the suggestion of an additional name for what we were doing, that was an easy problem, and it was easily dealt with. This one I'm bringing to you is very hard, and so I'm asking you to please check the logic. I think with the combined IQ in this room, really, I think you can figure this out. Here's the inspirational point. The best weapon of a dictatorship is secrecy, but the best weapon of a democracy should be the weapon of openness. This is from Niels Bohr, the physicist. Now, this talk has a bit of a U.S. focus. I'm sorry about that. I hope you'll forgive me. But problems that start here in the U.S. tend to spill over and hurt a lot of people elsewhere. First, I'd like to make an assertion. I really feel that if we had been on the ball when this whole e-voting issue started, we could have been saying that. And I'll go a little beyond that. Not only could we have, we really should have, because there isn't a community that was better positioned to have this thing off. So to some extent, I think we bear some responsibility here, and I'm going to ask you, if you ever see this again, something like this. We should rise up in like an allergic reaction. It should be like an allergic reaction. If you notice it, tell the rest of us, and it's our job to rise up and put a stop to something like that. So the future, it's not just electronic, it's physical. I'm sure a lot of you are already well aware of what's coming from nanotechnology. We've got 3 stages: materials, devices, and systems. Materials are already on the market, and they're doing great. Devices are starting. And eventually we'll have systems able to build with atomic precision using molecular machines. But right now we're just starting a transition from materials to devices. And the devices that are coming right now are sensors. You may know that dog noses, some dog noses can pick up a single molecule. Some nanotechnology sensors can do that now too. This has fantastic applications in medicine. There are some cancers you can detect just from that breath test. It has fabulous applications for the environment. Just think if we could really track pollution. The economists tell us that if you tax something, we get less of it. Well, and we tax income? Does this make any sense? What if we could get rid of the income tax and tax pollution? Just think what that would do. So these things are going to be able to detect hundreds of thousands of substances. What do you need? You need software. And they're working on that. It's right now, some of them are easily programmable. What that means is that you guys are going to have a lot of influence on how this plays out. So, how's it playing out? Well, they've already started to check up on us with these things. It started with environmental monitoring, checking to see what hormones are in the sewage, which is something important to know. But pretty soon, as you might expect, they started to look for other things, for example, illegal drugs. This is only being done right now, as far as I know, at some municipal levels, but I don't see any legal reason why they couldn't take it back to the property owner. Something to be aware of. So if you could detect a single drug molecule, and they were in here, would we be here? I don't think we'd be here. I think we'd be all out in the hallway getting our breath tested. So this is the kind of future we're kind of heading into unless somebody takes a stand. So what's driving this? Well, some very legitimate concerns. I mean, there are things that need to be detected. We've got today's weapons. We've got bioweapons coming. Eventually we'll have nanoweapons, nasty things. This guy on the right, this isn't something out of Star Wars. This is an actual prototype from the U.S. Army. So you may recall Bill Joy's article in Wired where he asserted, gosh, we have a problem coming. As time goes by, technology advances, we've got two things going on. Income goes up per individual, and the cost of making these weapons comes down. He wasn't the first one to make this point, but it's a legitimate point, and we have a real concern. So it leads to fear. That combined with really poor data on weapons of mass destruction leads to this kind of thing, which is the folks in Sudan had a pharmaceutical plant. For some reason here in the U.S., we decided that it looked like they were making chemical weapons there, and so we bombed it. And they were making pharmaceuticals there that they kind of needed. And the thing I want to bring to your attention here is the date. I know a lot of you have a lot of hope that things are going to change with the election, but this was before Bush came in. Okay, this was under Clinton. So this is not a Bush problem. This is a problem that's going to continue. So the folks in D.C. who are trying to deal with weapons of mass destruction, they're told they don't have a big tool set. What they think about is surveillance. They think about, let's do more surveillance. If we have bad data, we've got to do more surveillance. Electronic, video, biological, chemical, you name it, they want surveillance. And it's being integrated into a national system. The folks at Oak Ridge are working on that. It's called SentinelNet. Now, here in our community, we debate these things. We have David Brin there on the left. He's arguing, well, there's all this surveillance data. The only way to prevent abuse is to share it out to everybody. We've got Ruth Schneider on the right saying, no, that's the wrong way. And we have these great debates in Wired and the Computers Freedom and Privacy Conference. You know what? DC doesn't give a damn about our debates. They're paying zero attention to our debates. They just go ahead with their plans. And it's not because they're bad folks. They've been tasked to keep us safe, and gosh, they're going to do it. The only tools they have are top-down tools. Everything they do is centralized, monolithic, secretive, and not only does it lead to a surveillance state situation, it doesn't work, because terrorism is a bottom-up problem. They're trying to solve a bottom-up problem with top-down tools. What do we need? Well, I'm going to ask you to consider we may need bottom-up physical security. We need a decentralized system. We need to track the problem, not the people, an open, transparent situation. Who can figure this out? Well, gosh. We need a community that understands security, privacy, how those interact, they trade off, how that affects functionality, and how those impact freedom. Well, where am I going to find a community like that? That's you guys. And you know what? You're the only ones. There's nobody else out there. You're the only ones who get this. So, check out the box. We've got our current situation where we have poor security and poor privacy. Electronic Frontier Foundation pushes us upward into privacy focus, but it doesn't address security. We've got Transparent Society over on the right that is making no progress. What would the upper right look like? Well, I'm saying it's open source. I'm saying it's got to be verifiably limited, and that you guys are the ones to do it. I don't think it should track where individuals are going, and I don't think it should track non-weapons materials. We could track real things that cause real problems. Not only have these things been used by terrorists, the Las Vegas incident was just some individual moron making rice in a hotel room. So who gets the data? I think this is where your real comparative advantage is, thinking about this data. What should we collect? Should it be anonymized? How long should it be kept? Who should get it? You guys are the only ones who can figure this out. Some people wouldn't like you to have input on this. In New York City already, there's a proposed law that would require people to get a license to own a detector. Do we have a freedom to sense? Maybe we don't. I think we're going to may have to fight for this one. So, when the federal government started putting in serious new security procedures to check out the backgrounds of all federal employees in a very intrusive way, everybody rolled over except when we got to JPL. The JPL geeks stood up and said, hell no, this is ridiculous. We're not going along with this. And they weren't. And the LA Times asked, well, who would have guessed that the folks with the pocket protectors would be the ones with the right stuff? Well, I would have guessed it. I bet you would have guessed it too. Here's a couple of our founding geeks. On the left, we have Thomas Jefferson. He was a mechanical geek. And on the right, we have our electrical geek. He won the Nobel Prize in Physics of his time. That's all he wanted to do was electricity. But when a big problem came up, he stepped up. Now, whoa, this is a shame because that was a really good record. Whoa. I should check this better. Okay, so there's two things we need to do. One is this guy on the right. He's protesting. He's drawing a line saying, no, we are not going to put up with this. We're not going to have unknown sensing going on. No secret software for public sensing data. We're just not going to do it. On the right was a lovely record, which I will describe to you. But you can't just complain about things. This fear is real, and to some extent, the threat is real. If it's not real now, it will be real someday, where we actually have more terrorist incidents. So we can't just complain and say, we don't like the way DC is solving this problem. We actually have to step up and deal with it ourselves. We're going to have to figure this out ourselves. I tell you, these folks in DC, no matter how well-meaning they are, they do not have the tool sets to figure this out. Whoa. Okay. Computers. What does this tell us about computers? So, on the left, you can envision a picture of the Capitol. These are our friends in DC, and it doesn't matter how you feel about them. They want to keep you safe, and they're trying very hard to do it. They're using all the tools they have available, and they're all top-down surveillance-based tools. That's all they can think about. So is it going to be them who figure out how this plays out? Are you just going to sit back and let them figure it out? Look what happened with e-voting. It's going to go just like that. Or, picture on the right, is it going to be the geeks? Is it going to be this group who figures it out? That's a choice. There's nobody else. There's nobody else paying a bit of attention to this. There's nobody else who gets the points. So, what do we do about it? Well, if you can only do one thing, send me an email. Tell me your next week. If you can do two things, come to our meeting tonight at 8:30. And if you can do three things, come to our Congress in November and help me figure this out. But if it was last night, especially if you guys have had a few beers, I would try to get you to chant this so you could remember it. No secret software for public sensing data. Right? See, you can't just go to people and say, oh, it's got to be source available. They don't get it. But I think if you say, no secret software for public sensing data, just as if we had said no secret software for public voting data, I think they would have got it.